Jai Sri Ram. This is an interesting theory in psychology propounded by Henry Tajfel, a British based psychologist Henry Tajfel, who is best known for developing a theory of social identity, which holds that people are predisposed to divide the world up into in groups and out groups and defining themselves in terms of their membership of particular in groups and in opposition to particular out groups. So it was a groundbreaking experiment conducted in the early 1970s, providing evidence for the general thesis that we tend to favor our in group. Once you join a group, you will develop a strong sense of belongingness, and even if you don't know people in that group, you will try everything possible to favor them as against members of out groups or other groups whom you don't know. And this proves many things. That means our social identity is so strongly connected with the group that we belong to. Therefore, I think we Hindus should all join RSS, Vishwa Hindu Parishad, and once you join such an organization, these organizations are truly working for the benefit of the nation. And once you belong to these organizations, you will live by certain values which are enshrined in the Ramayana and Mahabharata. And this strong sense of belongingness will give you the immunity, protect you from being carried away by the other groups which unfortunately are anti Hindu and anti national. So, children at a very young group should be put into certain in groups by which are good and sattvic satsang groups, sort of groups that will teach them, inculcate values. That is, so anyway, how to put all these theories into practice is what I always think about. So you see, I will just read out experiments and intergroup discrimination. See, subjects were divided arbitrarily into two groups based on a trivial and almost completely irrelevant basis. But participants did not know who the other members of their group were and had no reason to expect that they would interact with them in the future. Still, members of both groups began to identify themselves with their group, preferring other members of their group and favoring them with rewards that maximized their own group outcomes. So people will go to any extent to favor their in-group members, and actually a lot of problems originate because of this behavior also. See, we tend to begin to trust people who subscribe to our denomination. Sect, SECT, denomination or sect means a particular subgroup within a religion, without really making any assessment of what that person is and what his character is. I have several times been cheated because of this phenomena, because I blindly trusted a member who belongs to my same jati or kulam, if you want to call it, because caste does not exist in Hinduism. So there are so many cons. The downsides of this theory highlights how dangerous it can be. We must always remain impartial, objective. But looks like once you join a group, the in-group forces you to act in manners that will favor the in-group. Perhaps this is part of our survival instinct. Well, anyway, so we must make sure that our children join such in-groups which are positive and which are doing good work, sattvic work. Okay, this is the Tajfel's social identity theory. Our social identity, a part of our identity, is derived from the social groups that we belong to and that we do not belong to, defining who we are by who we aren't. We derive self-esteem by positively differentiating our in-group from out-groups, us and them. We therefore tend to categorize our social environment into groups. We tend to favorize our in-group over out-groups. So the theory is all about becoming part of different groups and how membership to these groups helps construct our identities. So religion is the biggest group anyway. So that's why Vivekananda said, once a person gets converted to Christianity or Islam, it is not that one person is lost from Hinduism. He becomes an enemy to Hinduism. He starts working against Hinduism. So this is the power of the social identity theory, isn't it? So we have to make every effort that people don't get converted. Educate them in Bhagavad Gita, because then once they remain Hindu, the in-group forces, which are very invisible also, will ensure that they will stick and show loyalty to the in-group. Okay. They suggested that people have an inbuilt tendency to categorize themselves into one or more in-groups, building a part of their identity on the basis of membership of that group and enforcing boundaries with other groups. So this theory of social identity of Tajfel tells us that individuals tend to define themselves in terms of their membership of particular in-groups and opposition to particular out-groups. Of course, this is rather disconcerting, because even when we don't know other members of our group and we have never interacted with them, for example, suppose you belong to a Reddy community or Brahmin community or Vaishya community or some other kulam or jati. I don't want to use the word caste because caste does not exist in Hinduism. Caste is a foreign word, Portuguese word imposed on us by the British, Lord Risley, bloody rascal. So we have jati, kulam, varna, gotra, which are all scientific. Nevertheless, the downside is once we know that we belong to a particular group, there will be this disconcerting, dangerous tendency. Even if we don't know the members of the other group, immediately we tend to support that fellow simply because he belongs to our jati or kulam. See, jati and kulam are interchangeable now. These days, jati, kulam are interchangeable. Though jati actually means bloodline and kulam means family profession. Anyway, but these two words are being interchanged, fungible. They are being used to mean the same thing. Yeah. So even though we have never interacted with them and stand to gain nothing by favoring them, we are still willing to discriminate in favor of the in-group members against out-group members. And sometimes we fall into big traps and get cheated because of this stupid tendency. We tend to trust our in-group members at the expense of ourselves. That fellow could be a rascal. And we tend to think that the out-group member is bad and we will not trust him. And this is where we fall into that stupid trap. Okay. So, wonderful. I'll keep posting this kind of stuff. So, these theories in psychology are very interesting. They will help us understand human psychology better, and so that we can utilize all this knowledge to create the right kind of environment. Anyway, in this particular case, create the right kind of in-groups, create as many in-groups as possible so that people remain within this Sattvic Sanatana Dharma in-groups. Jai Shri Ram.